So, the Klingons can't handle the truth, and they're not very good sleuths. But, as Kolos said, they were better in their youth. So, is this a trial he can fix? Or is this episode just a lesser Star Trek 6? I'm Josh.
I'm Justin.
And this is From There to Here.
That was good, brother.
You like that one?
I like the last bit. That was good. That was
not
good.
the first part, but the last part.
The Star Trek 6 one, that was good. I didn't see that coming. That was good.
Okay. So this is Season 2, Episode 19. It's called Judgment, and according to the IMDb, this is what it's about. After Enterprise lends aid to a group of accused rebels, Captain Archer faces a tribunal and charges of conspiring against the Klingon Empire. What do you think it's rated?
6.8.
I'm going to go against...
I'm only going lower because it seems like I tend to be rating higher at this point than what IMDb does. So
okay. I'm going to say 7.3.
Okay.
We're both way off. 7.6. Okay. So what do you have?
Guest star J.G. Hertzler portrayed Advocate Kolos. Hertzler is known for playing the Klingon General Martok in Deep Space Nine and many other Star Trek roles. He also previously worked with Scott Bakula on Quantum Leap in the episode Sea Bride. I don't know which one that was. The episode was directed by James L. Conway, who cast Hertzler as Martok in Deep Space Nine.
I think that's like a first season Quantum Leap episode.
Sea Bride, that's not the one with what's her name?
Brooke Shields? No. It's just
I wanted to say Brenda Starr. Her name's not Brenda Starr.
It's just him and Brooke Shields in that episode.
Yeah.
There is no one else.
Okay.
There's another one that takes place on a boat. It's like a murder mystery.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the episode was directed by James L. Conway, who cast Hertzler as Martok in Deep Space Nine. That's interesting to know. Mm-hmm. Hertzler, however, was required to audition for the part and was surprised to get the role, but he grew to like Kolos immensely and was pleased to get the chance to work with Scott Bakula again. Hertzler said the Klingon makeup still took about 3 hours, and he worked 3 days that were as long as 16 to 18 hours, but he loved it. I can't believe he had to audition.
Yeah, I wonder why. They didn't say why. Exactly.
I'm not trying to knock him when I say this, but he wasn't doing anything different than what we've seen him do as far as playing a Klingon.
Not really.
So, you know what you're going to get.
Well, I mean, this guy is not Martok, but...
No, but he's not Martok either, in a way. You know, he's a civilized Martok, but he's basically, his portrayal when he played in Deep Space Nine, his portrayal of Loss.
No, I don't remember.
Remember, he was the other shapeshifter that Odo found? It was a season set, Shimura.
Oh, yeah, right.
And
that's a good one.
It was good, but that performance was nothing like Martok.
Well, I think maybe where the rub is for the producers,
that he's a Klingon,
is that you've already played a Klingon. Now you're going to play another one,
but he's not playing him any different, really.
Well, I think that's probably why they said, "Well, you need to audition," because
I guess again, not to knock.
Well, I don't quite agree with your criticism. I don't think he quite played it like Martok.
Oh, I'm not saying he played it like Martok, but I see him, I hear him. The teeth, everything. I'm seeing
that's because
Martok.
we watched the heck out of Deep Space Nine.
Well, of course.
So.
I'm seeing an older Martok is what I'm seeing, frankly.
Okay.
Again, not to knock him, but when I see Jeffrey Combs play different aliens, or even, I guess he doesn't play the same kind of, but I don't see Jeffrey Combs. I see the character. I see J.G. Hertzler and Martok. I don't know. Maybe I'm too close to DS9, to separate it.
I think that has something to do with it.
It could be. I'll freely say that's possible.
Well, it sounds like you didn't like this episode.
No, I liked it. It's fine. It's a fine episode. I am critical of it. I do have some criticisms.
I am critical of it too, but I think I did enjoy it. Far better than at least last week's episode, which was The Crossing.
Yeah.
This one I thought was much better in its construction.
In its construction, it was fine. I guess for me to go into this, I think it's going to start into the writer's room. But basically my problem with this was the advocate Kolos, is that what I said his name is? Kolos he has challenged the Klingon judge to say at Archer's behest to say, hey, the way we normally conduct a trial, let's not do it that way. Let's do it this way because I'm asking you to, right? So he's asking the court to do something they don't do. They just don't do it this way. And they very easily slipped into this version of law that's more familiar to us. And I didn't like that. This episode reminded me very much of the Deep Space Nine episode Tribunal, where
me too, because I got them mixed up and I started quoting the wrong one.
You flatter me, sir.
You flatter me.
Now that one, O'Brien is brought to court in a Cardassian court, and he wants Odo, being his advocate, wants to fight for him, and they keep stopping it, going, you can't do that. Yeah. This is how we do things. And they really didn't bend. No. They weren't listening. They never did until the very end, until they were forced to. And that made the tension of the episode much more thick because no one would listen to him. And even his own advocate said, don't tell me the truth. My God, man, what are you doing?
He was the worst.
You're going to get me killed. We have to lose. Don't you get it? That's how it works. And I love how that ended when the gavel in Tribunal, when the gavel came down and O'Brien, it's a big deal in Cardassian law. The verdict is always guilty and it's always known when it starts. So his advocate is just trying to prove how guilty he was. Basically he's not helping him at all. And at the very end, because they were, Odo was able to slip in something that got it released. Bing, the judge says, we release him. We take pity on him and let him go. And everyone's like, what? And then it turns to the prosecutor. Oh, I'm sorry, the advocate, his lawyer. And he says, what just happened? And Odo leans over and said, you won. And he goes, and he puts his head down in shame. They're going to murder me. and I thought that was great. And this episode very much needed that sense of culture because you're thrown into it with Archer completely head below water going, these guys, this culture is so different. How am I going to win? My own lawyer won't listen to me. And then with one conversation, he churns his lawyer to make him go against everything, which he has a backstory for that, and I'll give him that. But then he turns the whole court into a human style court, and they just kind of go with it. They don't give him any reason. And I have a writer's room way around that. So that bothered me. And it was just too neat,
Okay, it's my turn to talk now. Okay, so
Dick.
That's fair to say. I mean, this did feel a little bit like let's go into Star Trek's past and find their best hits and kind of rehash it.
And then there's that, yeah,
right. So they kind of did that with they borrowed Tribunal. It's very similar to that. If you want to get into the argument won't last long, but if you want to get into an argument, which series had the better writing? Well, okay,
come on.
Okay.
Let's be nice. Let's be fair.
Right. Okay. So, it did not have the. Okay. Let me start over. When this episode Judgment was going, I did not get a sense of they were really trapped in this way of doing things.
A cultural battle.
Yes. Also of this way of running their courts where they're doing it out of not actual justice, but of what's convenient for them. Right. And I didn't believe it. They weren't selling it to me.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, Tribunal worked in their explanation of it doesn't matter if you're innocent or not. That's regardless. So they were able to write that well enough to where it made sense in the context of the episode.
Mm-hmm. And they actually made it, like you said, they made it make sense in the context of the episode of Tribunal, and they made it, even though by our standards it doesn't work or it wouldn't work, they make it they make logic of their thinking, because the Cardassian people aren't stupid, but they point out, they've developed a system because the people needed it. They needed order. They needed this. So they gave them this. That's why it exists. And I thought that was brilliant. They explained it.
Yeah. They seem to have a logic to their willingness to disregard
forego the truth.
This, they didn't. It seemed like they were just being blindly ignorant for no apparent reason. Like if there was, maybe there was a backroom conversation where between, I don't know who, maybe the prosecutor or maybe the judge, where he does explain why like truth, untruth doesn't matter. You know, this is about honor. This is about something or other. Then maybe we could understand, but they never gave that to us. And we're like, well, clearly you're listening to one person's side. This is BS and we know it. Like you're just being stupid. Like, come on, make it believable, make us buy into this premise, and you're not doing it. So they could have, I don't know if your writer's room idea can fix that part.
Well, I think it addresses it. Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Before we go into that, do you want to go into that part right now, or
should we do we want to cover?
Are there other criticisms you want to address first? The
only other criticism that I'll hit is the visuals, which you and I talked about a lot as the episode played out. And this can't be ignored, because
no, it shouldn't be, because it was blatantly
it was. It actually
takes you out
it took it. That's exactly what I was going to say. It took us out of the episode, and that is there was no atmosphere in the set. And when I say atmosphere, I mean
texture.
It was too clean.
Right. You said put some smoke in there.
It needed smoke.
Yeah.
If you think of any other time, think of Star Trek 3, man. When they're on the bridge of that Klingon ship, there is always smoke. You actually become numb to it visually because it's so thick, it's part of the texture of the look. Sometimes it's genuinely smoky because they're on fire, but other times it's just there. And it adds a dimension to it. It's like this. And I learned this in art class in college, which is we were given the directive to paint a landscape, and we all came in and we all made the same mistake. And the guy said, go look out at the mountains, from the perspective of your house or something like that, pick a hilltop and draw the distance. And we all did it. And we all did the same thing. We all came back with a picture where the foreground and the background all looked the same. There was no sense of distance. There was no atmosphere. And he said, that's what you have to remember. He said, when you're looking at those mountains in reality, they're not as in focus. They're not, maybe hazy isn't the right word, but they're not as colorful as those things up front, because there is atmosphere in between, and it gives it texture and dimension. And that's what they do on TNG whenever they go to a Klingon ship, or Deep Space Nine. I don't think there's ever not smoke in the room. It gives it texture, and this didn't have it, and it makes it feel like a set. It makes it feel artificial. So it needed that. Enterprise, when you're on the bridge, you don't need that. But when you're on an environment like this, which is meant to be grungy and you need texture.
Well, it was painful, I think, mostly at the end in Ruapente. That was especially painfully a set.
Yeah.
Painfully so. Definitely could have just, get a smoke machine, guys. Yeah. Go rent it down. Go down the street, rent a smoke machine.
I know. And the TV set, the TV version of the courtroom set from Star Trek 6, which of course this is aping, was well produced for a TV budget. It looked good. It just needed that texture to make it more real. And it took us out of it.
Well, I have some doubts that even with this atmosphere, that if they had put it in there, it could have made that tribunal seem grand, like it was in Star Trek 6. I'm like, they artificially extended their set with a matte painting, and this tribunal had 2 floors. I mean, come on. I know it's supposed to be in the past.
Yeah, with Trek 6, the viewing gallery was 360. This was a pie wedge viewing group.
They had people all the way at like 100 floors up.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. It was
the cheap seats. I mean, come on. Okay, so before we go any further, would you like to go into Sebastian's questions?
Yeah, let's touch on that.
So Justin and I decided that we should address these earlier because we might actually cover it in our discussion.
Yeah, and we feel bad because
Yeah.
he'll present us with interesting questions, which we if we read it at the end, we kind of naturally end up
Right.
touching on.
So if you haven't listened to any episodes before this one, Sebastian is from Germany. He's a listener and is kind enough to come up with discussion questions for us. And so we have some for Judgment. And Sebastian writes, I liked this episode, but Archer felt kind of like the vanilla version of just another Star Trek captain. As if he'd been created by ChatGPT, if ChatGPT would have been a thing in the early 2000s. Did his behavior feel oddly generic to you as well?
I would have to say
I'd
yes.
have to say yes. Yeah,
That's a very good observation.
We hadn't gotten to that point in our conversation yet, but yeah, I was about to say this was actually a note that I took. That would this episode have been better had someone else been on trial, like maybe Trip?
I think the episode could have been just fine if Archer his performance was different.
Yeah, you've famously said to us, is that he's muted or he's gagged or something.
Yeah.
Scott Bakula is. So they need to untie him, ungag him, let him breathe a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, when you watch him in Quantum Leap, and I mean every other episode, he is having to be persuasive to someone for something, and he oozes charm and charisma, but somehow as Archer, it's almost all gone. And it's painful to watch because he's fully capable of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why he's neutered, essentially.
Yeah, that's a good word to use.
I hate to say it, but...
So, yeah, Sebastian, I agree. I think he was very generic. I don't know what they could have done to let him...
I have an idea.
Okay,
it's my writer's room.
Okay.
So you want me to wait?
Well, we're talking about it right now. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it comes down to this. Using the episode Deep Space Nine episode Tribunal as a example, the biggest issue in the episode here is the culture clash, and the culture clash in the form of the courtroom. Now, the Klingon people have never historically been people that change their belief system or the way they do things easily at all. So,
sorry to cut you off. But did you notice in the episode when they are addressing that point specifically, when Archer brings it up to Kolos?
Yeah.
He said, how did things change for you, Captain Archer? Well, a few hundred years ago, some people decided to change things.
Right.
But I'm thinking, well, a few hundred years from now, nothing's going to change for the Klingon Empire. So what you're doing, Kolos, is pretty much worthless.
Right, it's going to get worse.
It is going to get worse.
I mean, Worf wanted to buck the system, and they were going to kill him for it.
Right.
Yeah, it was like either die or you're excommunicated.
Okay, so continue.
So, given that is the cultural stance of the Klingons, and we as viewers of Star Trek are well aware of what they're like. The prosecutor, I don't have a problem with him being swayed by Archer, but do it within the bounds of his culture.
Do you mean the advocate?
I'm sorry. Yes, the advocate. I'm
Kolos.
sorry.
You mean
Kolos. Martok.
Yeah, Martok.
Martok.
Yes.
I don't mind Martok being swayed by Archer to fight the good fight, but that's where Martok would come in and go, all right, but we're going to do it the Klingon way. And so when they go out there, they've got Duras. Of course it's Duras, because the Klingon civilization is just so big. Are there no other families that are traitorous? Yeah. But can't they just find a guy that's a dick? But anyway, Duras.
Well, this episode is all callbacks anyway.
I know. So it was too much.
Yeah.
But Duras got
I'm surprised they didn't have a shapeshifter on Rarapente.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. And a guy to kick in the knees.
The guy has his testicles in his knees.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
So Duras got up there and made the argument saying, hey, I honorably came up there to defend the Klingon Empire. And this guy, he gave me the finger. So I chased him down and he fought me and he's a jerk. And we should prosecute him for that. That was essentially his argument.
Well, that was that was one of my more favorite moments from the episode, where we're seeing it from
his version of
Ross's point of view,
which
I enjoyed. Say, I love seeing those perspective changes.
However, given that we know that Duras is completely full of it, because we're seeing the playback and we're like, well, there's no way Archer would act like this. Yeah. Then he was like 4 steps below what he should have been doing. He should have said he appeared on the view screen and he was yelling and he was threatening me he had a sword in his hand, and there was not one guy behind him. There were 10 guys and they all had their knives and they were threatening me, like, sell it, bro. Sell it.
Yeah, they should have really gone with that, like they did with Living Witness and Voyager.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, like don't just make it a little bit. Go for broke, man. And when he shot at me with like laser beams I've never seen before. It was killing all of my men, and I had no choice but to act. So that's Duras, right? So the Klingon way, because what Martok was basically saying was, Archer is a good guy. Like, look at his past actions. He's a good guy. But that's not what they want to hear. That's not what Klingons hear at all. What they would hear is, hey, Archer found this bunch of guys. They were weak and they needed help. He is an honorable man. So he honorably took them in, and he had no idea that these were subjects of the Empire. I'm sure if he did, he would not have gotten involved. But he got involved with these people, and then a Klingon ship approached him. And at this point, Archer, being the honorable man that he is, said, I've taken ownership of these men. I can't turn them. That wouldn't be honorable of me to turn them over. So I have no choice but to fight you because you're trying to take them. So I feel the best way that Martok could have made the argument to the Klingon people is to stress that what Archer did was honorable, even if it was against the Klingons, and that the Klingons, being who they are, would actually go, hey, I see what you're saying. Like, he didn't know that he was going to be fighting us, but if we took it upon ourselves to defend someone, we would do it to the death. And that's all he was doing. He was being an honorable man, and we can respect that. I felt like that should have been the ultimate argument that Martok made, which is he chose to do something honorable, regardless of who it was against. Don't talk about his past. It's not the issue. He was doing something honorable. That's it. Help the Klingons see the honor that he was, the honor-like actions he was doing, and sell that. Remember the episode in Deep Space Nine with Jadzia, when she's having to prove herself to, ironically, Martok's wife when she wants to marry Worf into the family. She has to go through her past and say, I honorably did this, I did that, and she's totally flowering it up, and everyone knows that. That's part of the job. That's what I wanted to see. Like, that's what I think would have sold it, and let Archer do some talking at some point, going, these people were trodden on. I stood up and I knew if I faced, and have him BS it, I knew if I faced Duras in honorable battle, we would probably be destroyed. But I made an oath to defend these people, and I would die for that oath. And they go, oh yeah, we like that oath, honor. Gives me a Klingon chubby, like, sell their belief system back to them, and make it be where they're just like, well, we have to let him go. What an awesome guy that is. We want to fight with him, not against him.
Yeah, I think that could have. Well, I think it would have worked much better. Also, it would have given us a chance, and the episode a chance, to see that obviously one-sided crowd turn against the other side and start cheering for Archer, having Archer. Yeah. And the judge is like, quiet.
and Kolos could go, I've never seen them do that before. I'm going to quote what we're
usually ahead. They throw things at you.
Yeah. Usually your head would be on a spike by now. We're doing very well.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah. So am I getting off? Oh no, they're totally going to throw you in prison, but they're not going to kill you. And we've really done a good job.
No, I mean, they still might kill you. They just like you a little bit.
Yeah, but we've curried some favor here.
No, someone still has to die. I mean, that's how it works here.
Yeah, they could put him back in his cell. Hey, Archer, they cooked your food tonight. They like you.
Wouldn't it make much more sense in this Klingon justice system. If I mean, it doesn't really make much sense that in a system based on honor like this is, that they have an adversarial court system like we do. It doesn't seem to make much sense. But you think that if they were going to go through this whole charade of having a trial, well, why not have an addendum to it that we don't have? Like, well, if you are, let's say, if you are convicted, found guilty, then you do have one chance, and you may challenge Duras to a fight to the death.
Right.
Something like that. Like, that would be Klingon.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, I even like the idea of Archer saying, I knew I was going to die because Duras is just so tough, and I knew it, but I had to do it. I think they really, really respect that.
Yeah. I mean, what if they maybe in that way, he's like, well, if Duras beats you in one-on-one combat, he will regain his honor. What if they faked it so it looked like he killed Archer? That way he gets his honor, and that way they think Archer's dead. And
no, too dubious.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
That's the one thing I don't want to say the one. I shouldn't say that. That's something I like about the ending, where Archer is rescued from Urapente because he is sentenced. His sentence of death is commuted. And when Archer's being rescued, he's like, hey, come with me, Martok. And Martok says, dude, if I'm going to be the kind of guy that I was, I can't leave with you. I have to do this. It's just my way. It really, and that would really drive home the culture that he comes from. He's like, that wouldn't be honorable. You're not bound by that. I am. So I got to stay,
Okay. So I have another question from Sebastian. Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the idea of a caste system in the Klingon society because, well, let's be realistic. A society cannot work if everyone is a warrior. However, I wonder if that concept has ever expanded beyond Enterprise to other parts of the Star Trek franchise.
Yes, it has. Deep Space Nine, the Bajorans, they were a caste system.
In that episode, people no longer follow their Dajaras.
Yeah. Oh my God, what's the name of that episode? A Session?
Yeah,
A Session.
I think that's right.
Yeah, where it said that the Bajoran people, prior to being taken over by the Cardassians, they followed a caste-based system called Dajaras. And it actually, when Sisko relinquished being the emissary to this other guy that was from that older time, so he wanted to go back to the caste system because that's what he knew.
Mm-hmm.
He was told in no uncertain terms by the Federation, you can't be with us if you're a caste system because that's discrimination.
Right.
And he said, well, it's what we are, And so, yes, they have done that before. And I like the Klingons. That makes sense for a society like that, that they would be that way. It really does.
A caste-based.
Yeah,
society.
Because sorry.
Well, it wasn't something that they ever developed, I think, until they got into Enterprise because
no, it wasn't.
They never portray Klingons in any other way.
No, they don't.
No. So, I mean, that was when Archer said, well, when Kolos asked him, did you think every Klingon was a soldier? And Archer's response was, well, yeah, I kind of did. That's us. Like, well,
that's the audience.
That's all we ever saw.
Well, yeah. Well, why would we think otherwise?
Of course.
Yeah.
So, I think it was.
Although.
What?
There was in TNG, granted, it's a small thing.
Which one?
Is
there going to be a podcast where we don't bring up TNG, Voyager?
Probably not, because almost every episode of Enterprise is a reference to an older one.
Okay.
The one where Crusher has the scientists over, the Ferengi scientist.
Oh, yeah, the Klingon woman.
There was a Klingon scientist woman. She was very aggressive.
I have heard enough of your accusations.
Yeah, but she was a scientist.
Suspicions.
Yeah.
We can't build those shields together with suspicious minds.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, anyway. That's an Elvis reference for y'all.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. Anyway.
But that was
caste-based systems.
Yeah. But that didn't imply a caste-based system at all, just that she happened to be in the scientific field.
Right.
But I still love that she was super aggressive.
Crusher did give it lip service in her monologue.
Did she?
She had said, like, And this was a Klingon scientist, the first one I'd ever met.
Well, there
something
you go.
like
Sure.
that.
Yeah, it is rare.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, and then in the 4th season, they meet Klingon scientists and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I actually like that. That's something that Enterprise did bring that was different, or that explained something that we may not have otherwise thought of. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it actually, it does retroactively. It makes sense of Star Trek 6 when we see this, basically the same thing happen when they're in a courtroom.
Star Trek 4. There's the Klingon there, John Shuck. He doesn't appear to be a warrior.
You mean like the ambassador of the Klingon?
Yeah, he's an ambassador. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still acting like all the other ones.
He's very yeah.
No, I mean, you don't see Klingons in glasses and like reading books or
No,
anything.
no,
like
you
that.
don't see that.
Just sitting in their coffee shops, drinking coffee and writing.
This is
poems.
a culture where if the captain appears weak, they kill him. So
Right.
I'm sure if they walked into a Klingon library and you see a guy sneaking glasses because his visions are bad, the librarian would come up behind him and slit his throat and say, "My books will not be read by a weakling Klingon.
It's like Conan the Librarian and UHF.
We will drink your blood."
So that was all of Sebastian's questions. Those are good ones. I like that. As for the episode itself, I think thank you, Sebastian, for the questions. By the way, thank you. Keep them coming. We do have some for the next one, but we enjoy these a lot. So please keep sending
absolutely.
them. Also, Marissa, we've been missing hearing from you.
Where are you, Marissa?
We haven't gotten any trivia from you in a little while. We missed that, so we hope you're okay.
We hope you're still listening.
We hope you're still listening. Hope you hear this. But let us know and send us some trivia if you can. But back to Judgment.
There's that movie. I don't know if it's based on a book. Judgment at Nuremberg.
Yeah.
They should have made it, Judgment at
Kronos.
or Judgment at Kronos.
Sure, something like that. Yeah,
something fun.
That would have been, I think, probably a better title, I think.
Just add a little something to it.
Sure. As far as this episode goes as a whole, as I said at the top,
yeah.
I did enjoy it. I think it's definitely rewatchable. Well, I mean, wouldn't you say?
I would, and I enjoy the flashback sort of structure of it. I do wish they had gone more extreme with it.
I do too, because when they got to those points, when they finally got to that point in the episode, it kind of took me out of it for a moment. I thought, because it was about 20 minutes in when we do the first flashback.
Right.
And I think even longer after that before we see Archer's point
version.
of view. And then we see the Enterprise crew. And you're like, we're going to see them in this episode. Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to go there at all. So it was a little off-putting. They felt very secondary in their own show because it was all pretty much taking place from the Kronos perspective.
Right.
But the flashbacks, yes, they worked. And like I said earlier, I really liked the perspective. This perspective changes. I think they should have had more of that.
More of it.
I wanted to see, you say go more extreme. There should have been more instances of it too.
Well, remember the Deep Space Nine episode?
Rules of
engagement.
Yes.
Where the trial is happening and they continuous when they have people on the stand, as they're telling their story, it flashes back.
Right.
And they'll pause and they'll turn to the camera.
Moment. Yeah. And they'll start talking to, that was very well done.
Yeah. Wow. So well done.
Yeah.
And it really makes you stop and analyze a moment. It was really well done. But still, we're both on the same page, which is everything should have been over the top.
Yeah.
Duras' story should have been over the top. When Archer tells it, we should never see the real version. Just have him do his over the top version where he's gloriously fighting a losing battle and being heroic and full of honor.
You're a dead man, Epcar.
A dead man. I know. I was gonna bring it up.
It's a matter of perspective.
And at the end, maybe just maybe, when they're on Rurapente, have Martok lean over to Archer and go, "So I stopped you when we were on the planet, but what actually happened?" And he would say, "It doesn't really matter. Don't tell us."
I gave you a good story. That's what you wanted.
Yeah. And we would know it's somewhere, you know, we
somewhere
know
in between.
Yeah, you know, we know what he would have been blowing up a little bit, but have him just say that's the only story that matters, you know? And in fact, since you mentioned the Enterprise crew that they feel secondary in their own show, like we have said in so many episodes, stop feeling obligated to give everyone screen time. The whole episode should have taken place on Kronos. They should have gone to Rurapente. We should not have seen any Enterprise people until Malcolm took his hood off and he was like, yes, I'm rescued. And he'd say, we're up there waiting. We've been watching the whole time. You know, that's it. Like, God,
Perfect.
let something be a surprise.
I love it. Yeah. Just that
I mean, we know he's not going to stay there.
Yeah.
So
Of course,
just
yeah.
make when be the thing, you know, have that.
That
be
would have
it.
been really refreshing to not see any Enterprise crew members at all until we see that one bit from Malcolm at the end where he takes the cloak off and just says that one line. All right, let's go. We're breaking you out.
Yep. Time to go.
Yeah.
In fact, what would have been neat is if they carved out like 2 minutes somewhere in the episode in between Kronos and Rurapente, where you could use screen time that was given to the Enterprise crew. Instead, have Archer and Martok on the transport on their way and have the transport going along. You know, they're chained up just like they, you know, in Canamar, that episode, you know, they're just locked up with, you know, thugs and felons and all that. And Archer's like, is it going to be as bad as I think? Oh yeah, this is really bad, dude. Don't look anyone in the eye, you know? And then like, as they're going along, he could say something like, you know, what about your ship? Do you think they, you know, are they out there? And he's like, if they are, you know, I hope they don't try and come for me. They might, you know, I don't know. And as they're talking or something, like they hear this and you think, oh my God, that's them. Like and you could hear the Klingons go, we're being, you know, a ship has approached. And you're like, you're going to think it's Enterprise, right? And then they're all, Archer is watching these doors thinking, oh, the commandos are going to come in. They're going to save me. And it opens up and it's just more prisoners. And he'd say, well, maybe they're not coming. And then cut to Rurapente and he's chopping ice going, well, I'm actually here. I think this might be it for me. And then, sir, I'm here for you, you know, and then that big surprise moment, you know, that might've been fun, you know, set up the idea that he thinks he's going to get rescued, but it's not happening, you know?
Yeah. I think, you know, to sound like, again, like a broken record, this series will just play
reminded
it safe.
me of that Voyager episode.
Well, yeah.
I'm
yes.
just kidding.
It will play it safe more often than not.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I feel, maybe it's because it's us and we've been analyzing this, but I feel like the writers behind the scenes just felt a little handcuffed.
Yeah.
Like they wanted to go places that they just couldn't go.
And we know they were capable because a lot of these writers would have been from Deep Space Nine and all of that.
And certainly you would think that whoever shot this episode must have been the same guy who shoots all of them, I would assume.
Not necessarily.
Do they always have do they have a rotating set
I think it's a rotating.
I think
you
you
know,
would have
thing.
seen the dailies or even the onset, you know, playback. Like,
Yeah.
man, it looks a little clean, guys. Maybe we should get some smoke in there, but no. All right. Did you have anything you wanted to break down about this episode? Because I think I spent my wad on it. So
No, I think that's it. You know, I think outside, you know, there's a handful of episodes where you and I have like really writers roomed the thing and made it very different. For the most part, I think most of what the kind of changes we talk about are either or could have been editorial changes. Like just cut it, you know, maybe go back and do half a day of reshooting and add this thing to add some flavor to it or something. I don't think most of the things that we suggest are absurd or would have been too hard to fix had they started doing the rough cut and realized, oh man, we really need this. You know, do we still have that set? Let's use it. You know, so I don't know, something. I don't think anything we're thinking of is too off the wall, but like you have very rightly pointed out, of course, it's very easy to go back and look at it once the episode is made and all of that, of course, you know, armchair. But, you know, the people that edit these things and put it, they're better than we are at this stuff. You know, they must see these things and go, gosh, guys, if you just did, you know, if you had this, I could put this together for you and you would look really, really good.
well, I mean, the editors aren't doing this creatively. They're cutting based off the
a
scripts
script.
and the
Yeah, I
director's
know.
needs.
But still,
and
the
whatnot.
director still sits there and and sees the rough cut and goes, man, it read fine on the page, but I need this to give it life.
I don't think it works that way in this kind of
probably not. There's just no time to go back. It has to be on the page.
You're cutting to a blueprint and
there's no time to go back.
No, it's, I mean, this isn't, they're not making an opus here. They're making a weekly series.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I say that like it's easy to do. I know it isn't. Of course they would do these things if they could. It's just time. Mm-hmm. It's a shame. One extra day,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's really a shame. Maybe when it comes to like episodic TV like this, that's if they don't capture it when they're making it, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not. With rare exception, can they go back and do something different? I would think. Well, but anyway, that's all I had to really say.
Okay. Well, before we get into trivia, if we have any, did you?
Trivia? No.
Okay. Or awards?
I have an award.
Okay, we can rate the episode.
Okay.
What would you like to grade it? Would you like me to go first, or would you like to?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. I actually had not thought about it till I just brought this up. Okay. Tribunal. It's definitely better than a C. Not an A. So we're talking about B territory here. I'm going to give it straight B.
I'll give it that.
Yeah, it's good. It's not great.
Yeah.
But to compare it to last week's episode, I think we gave that one a C+ mutually. So yeah, this one was definitely better in its construction, as I have already said. Anyway, okay, so 2 Bs. What do you have for trivia not trivia, awards?
Well, the obvious award goes to Archer.
Petulance.
No. The award for Archer must be the Janeway Award for sticking his nose into other people's business.
It's the Janeway Country Music Award, right. And we have not awarded that in quite a while.
Some time.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that one.
I thought that was obvious.
No,
they literally said it in the episode. He sticks his nose into our affairs.
Yeah, it's been so long since we used it. I forgot about that award. Okay, no, that's a good one. I don't have any awards. I do have some favorite lines or moments, if you want to call it that. Did you have anything like that?
Moments? No.
Well, I did have one of my favorite lines was when Archer and Kolos they're in this cell, and this is just after they're waiting for the verdict.
Uh-huh.
And this actually got a laugh from us. They're sitting there, it's quiet, they're panning in on it. It's an establishing shot, no one's talking yet. And then finally Archer says, how long does it take? He's like, usually it doesn't take this long at all. I must have been more persuasive than I thought. That was a good line. Earlier in the episode, between the two guys, they're drinking blood wine together. Kolos offers him some blood wine. Archer takes it. He obviously has some trouble getting it down, and he asks a question that people probably should have asked a while ago. What's it the blood of? I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
Also, there was another moment inside the trial that I thought was funny. Scott Bakula's reaction to a put down that Kolos gave the prosecutor, where the prosecutor was trying to defend against Kolos's arguments, and then Kolos responded, well, maybe the prosecutor has gotten complacent. And then Archer does this, did you hear that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I was like, okay. It's an audio podcast, so all I can do is make that sound.
So that's a yo mama moment.
Yeah, that was a yo mama. He got you. Yeah. Sick burn. There you go. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Burn.
That was good. But other than that, I have one piece of trivia I could ask you, which is, how many years was Kolos a prosecutor or an advocate? Excuse me.
40 years.
That's close. It's 50.
Okay.
I did this for 50 years. Kept my mouth shut.
And we know Klingons can live a long time.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but they always die in battle, though.
Well, yeah, it's rare.
Okay.
But in Deep Space Nine, the 3 Klingons from the original series show up.
Yeah.
And they're, they're nearing the end, of their old age. But they have good lifetimes.
Well, did they just retroactively do that so they can get those same actors in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we're done.
I think so.
So what comes up next?
Good question. Let me back up the thing here. Doopity-doopity-doo. Not Terra Nova. It is, Horizon.
Horizon. I don't remember what that is.
That's where they go to Travis's old home.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what was the episode called where it was in the first season where they met that other cargo ship and they went on? No, it was
the one
it was like a Mayweather
from the
episode.
first season.
Yeah,
That
What
was
that's the one we thought it was back then.
yes.
We thought that was Horizon.
God, what's that called?
No, show me the horizon.
Where's the goddamn
Where's the horizon?
No, I know. I forget the title. It was one flat dull episode is what it was.
It wasn't that. It was okay. It was all right. Anyway, so that's the one we're finally gonna get that.
We're
one.
finally going to the horizon. Yes.
Okay. Well, I hope it's at the bottom or the top, because if not, it's gonna be boring as
fucking
shit.
boring.
If you'd like to contact us, you can reach out to us through email at podcastnx01@gmail.com. Or if you're really cool, you can just leave us comments on Apple Podcast and give us a rating. That would be really cool.
That would be nice.
And when you email us, you don't just have to email us your thoughts. You can email us topic suggestions or questions like Sebastian is doing. We love that. Or trivia.
Yeah.
Or anything your heart's desire.
Anything.
Anything I want, as long as it was human. No. Or you could, mortal, excuse me. You can even insult us, by all means. We'd love to get some hate mail, and we'd love to read it on air.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll see you in the next one.
All right.